Three, two, one. And we are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub, coming us live from the Dominican Republic. How you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. We might have a little bit of a delay when we might talk over each other a little bit more on this show because there's a tiny bit of a delay going on. We're not sure what's going on. It might be the distance because Seth isn't, well, Republic then again, it's not too far from where we usually are. But myself, I'm still in the Arctic Circle now in Sweden, in the north of Sweden, where I came today to test out the Polestar lineup on ice. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that later on the show. And I haven't wrote an article on it yet because it literally just happened yesterday. but I can still talk to you guys about it a little bit because there's no embargo, and it was quite fun. Let me put myself on Do Not Disturb here. All right. But we have plenty of other things to talk about. We're gonna, as usual, start with a few Tesla stuff and then get into the Rivian's earnings, a couple of other Rivian news, a few. We have another one that bite the dust because of the another EV that bite the dust because of the Trump tariffs and changes, and then we have a little bit of a preview of what we're gonna talk probably a lot about on the next week's episode of the Electrek podcast, because the Kia. I think they call it the EV Day, like their big unveiling is coming up next week, I think on Monday. And they released a bunch of previews this week that are going to be interesting. But yeah, last week's episode, we talked about the Tesla protests that were coming in this week over Elon Musk. And we looked at the result of that this week over the weekend. And looks like there was kind of a significant turnout across dozens of stores in North America specifically, but a few in Europe too. And people out there trying to peacefully disrupt Tesla's operation for the weekend, try to get people behind the idea of not financing Elon Musk's hostile takeover of the government through Tesla. And this is good to see because we're seeing some bad protests about Tesla too. We reported about a bunch of those, which obviously we do not encourage. Things like a store in Oregon that were people shot at, a store in Colorado that was a victim of arson, and like, let's not resort to violence, everyone. Like, you can peacefully protest. It's very doable, but it's interesting, this one. So bunch of protests across dozens of stores, and these, by the way, are ongoing. So they are taking over with the hashtag Tesla takeover, or Tesla takedown. Now they've switched to mainly, and they're still organizing some that's coming this weekend, and then the next weekend also. So it's an ongoing thing that it looks like it's gonna affect Tesla for a while. But the Washington Post also this week was out at the same time. The Post was a little bit about that, about the protest, but they were also about employees within Tesla that are now starting to, I mean, more publicly speak up about their discontent with their CEO, but not entirely publicly, but within the company at least. Publicly. So they obtained a recording from a Tesla staff meeting, and I'm quoting for the report here. Employees and senior managers at the recent staff meeting at one of Tesla's division openly expressed concern that Musk is damaging the company's business and sustainability missions, according to a recording obtained by the Washington Post. So the employees said that Musk is tarnishing the brand. One senior manager even said that the company would be better off if Musk resigned. Inside Tesla, most discussion of discomfort with CEO happens quietly over lunch or in private messages. One of the employees who spoke with the Post said the worker used external communication tools, fearing the company could be monitoring staff for signs of disloyalty. I believe it. I mean, Elon is huge on that stuff. I mean, I remember now I cannot remember what was it. Maybe a leak to the media or something like that. But back in the day, maybe Seth, you remember it too. But there was a leak about some, huh?
Yeah, so they sent out an email with extra spaces throughout the email, and whoever got the email with, they could tell who who leaked the email because they sent a different version to everybody, and they had extra spaces throughout, kind of like a signature, so they could
Yeah,
tell who was.
no, I remember that one too, but that wasn't even the one I was thinking about. I was thinking to another one that's way prior to that, like it's early Tesla days. Like it was something that was printed. An employee printed something that he was not supposed to print it, and to figure out what it was, the printer didn't record like who was printing what, but he could figure it out by just recreating the document that was printed and sending it to a printer and looking at the file at the printer, the size of the file, and it was exactly the same, and that they fired the employee based on that. Uh, so that I
Oh wow.
remember that was a while on. But yeah, so I think. Oh, and also within those two stories kind of merged together. So the story and during the protest at one of the stores in I forget the store right now. I think it was in California. Yeah, it was the one in Van Nuys. And as the protest was going on in front of the store, an employee printed out again, said that on a piece of paper, "We hate him too," most likely referencing Elon Musk, and hung that out of the window of the office as the protest was going on. So I'm sure that whoever printed that out is also quite in trouble. But I hope they're okay.
Yeah,
So at least I'm.
lesson
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
Tesla employees is don't print anything out on the company printers.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm happy to see, some push. I knew that obviously employees were discontent. We have like sources within Tesla and everything that every now and again will let us know. But I'm glad to see that it's getting some momentum within the company. It's not like they're not all blind to what's happening with Elon. Who's, I mean, if you guys have been following the news this week, is the meltdown is just continuing right now to a level never seen before. But moving on from that, I know some people don't like to talk about Musk too much. I understand it. Um, Nissan is apparently turning to Tesla as a potential investors after the Honda deal fell through. So last week we reported that it's just, I think, a week or two after the Nissan and an understanding, they signed the deal with Honda to merge the two company. The deal fell through. Apparently, it has to do with Nissan thinking more that it was going to be a merger, and Honda seeing it more like a takeover. So they both backed off. And now Japan is a little bit scrambling here because they were okay with Nissan and Honda together, both Japanese company, but now there's some Chinese company apparently sniffing around Nissan, including Foxconn, and apparently Japan is not too fond of that. And now they put a high level group of Japanese together to approach Tesla as a potential critical investor in the company, and they even got Hiro Mizuno, who's a former Tesla board member, in that group. So at the very least, it looks like they will be able to have a conversation with Tesla because of the caliber of people in the group. There's even also the former premier, Ushahide Suga, and they are they are talking to Tesla. They said that one person of the group, according to Financial Times, even said that Tesla has showed interest in acquiring Nissan's plants in the U.S. I don't know about that. Even Elon kind of sort of dismissed it on Twitter, like not entirely, but he said like, he said this, we're not really interested in that because he hyped the cyber cab next generation unbox the production line in Texas. So, and I'm not surprised. Like I've been saying it for a while. There's been plenty of rumors over the last few years of Tesla taking over this and that factory, and Tesla has not done that since Fremont factory, and they've been quite clear that they don't want to repeat that. They prefer to build factories from the ground up than taking over one and having to redesign it from basically completely. So I think, like I said, I think I can see them having a discussion because the connections there, but I doubt they will go much further than that. And Tesla is having its own issues, obviously. $1 trillion company. They're doing a lot better than Nissan on the stock price front, but on the fundamentals front, it's something else. And I'm sure that people within Tesla that are not named Elon Musk are aware of that, and they would probably push against something like a big merger. Um, and Elon, I don't think Elon himself is interested in that. So if you combine those two together, it looks like it's not going to be happening, but they're going to try. All right, we got a good news from Tesla for the Cybertruck this week. It's not the death machine that some claim. So a lot of people were claiming that the Cybertruck would not be safe for plenty of reasons. Because of its novel design and structure, and the fact that early on, with just not that many Cybertrucks out on the road, there were a few fatal crashes and severe crashes that happened. So people are like, all right, maybe this is when Tesla break its streaks of 5-star rating. But no, NHTSA finally released its own independent crash testing a result for the Cybertruck. Applies to the 2024 and 2025 model year Cybertruck, and they got a 5-star rating, which is the top rating you can have, with a 4-star rating for passenger, 5-star rating for everything except for passenger safety, 4-star, and also rollover test, which I don't think there's many pickup trucks, if any, that are 5-star rated for the rollover test. I also got all of the ratings for the ADAS system, active safety. The one thing, though, that it hasn't been tested on, but NHTSA is working to test that, is passenger safety, and that I have more doubt about the Cybertruck scoring high on that, just because of I mean, you don't want to be hit by any car, you don't want to get hit by a pickup truck, but the Cybertruck, you specifically don't want to get hit by that. I feel like.
You don't even want to be hit by
So
it going slow or anything.
yeah. Or Carl says, "You mean pedestrian safety?" Yeah, I think uh, is that not what I said? I'm not sure.
Might have said passengers, but
Oh yeah, pedestrian safety. That's what I meant. All right, Tesla deliveries are expected to go down to levels not seen in more than 2 years. So with Tesla deliveries, now we have a new way to predict them. Prediction markets are getting into the Tesla deliveries prediction game. Those markets that they use basically financial incentive to make prediction about certain outcomes, specific outcomes, and they became they've been around for a while, obviously, but with the rise in crypto and betting markets, you combine them together and you focus on different outcomes, and they became very popular during the elections, the U.S. election last year. But now that the elections are over, they need other things to bet on, and they expanded to literally anything. If you can think of it, I almost guarantee you that there's a market for it. Even though there's not one for the self-driving yet, and I've been trying to reach out to them to make it, but it's not happening. But Kalshi has made one for Tesla deliveries. And for Q4 now, with $500,000 in volume on this, so there's a lot of volume that move around trying to understand this. So why I mentioned the volume is important. More volume generally means, not always, but uh, it's more accurate the more there's volume, because there's more people that actually are betting money on this. And right now it stands at 359,000 deliveries for Q1. So that's something. So that would be down 7% year over year, 27% quarter over quarter, and it's delivery volume that Tesla has not seen since Q3 2022. So that since then Tesla has brought online Gigafactory Texas, Gigafactory Berlin, more specifically ramped up production at those factory, fully ramped up Gigafactory Shanghai. They've launched a Cybertruck. They've done a lot of things since then. Supposedly solve self-driving, if you believe Elon, and now deliveries would revert back to that moment. Which, if ever there was a time to worry about Tesla, I think it would be now. But the stock is not back to that level.
in fact, the stock kind of keeps going up. I mean, it's not up this last week or two, but previously it was quite a bit.
Yeah, it's down this year so far, or this month over the last month, but it's still up from the elections. So people still take into account more the fact that the anticipation of collusion between the Trump administration and Elon than the actual fundamentals at Tesla, what's happening. And also, there's the idea of Tesla's going to solve self-driving this year, which we already reported on that, but we think that Elon kind of moved the goalpost quite a bit on that. And he's going to claim a win probably this year, but it's not going to be what was promised since 2016. We're going to get a new feature from Tesla based on some pretty strange situation, but still. So it's something that people have been asking for a long time, and that's virtual queues at superchargers. So when the supercharger is full, probably every Tesla owners have seen that before, but when the supercharger is full, there's a physical queue that's going to create itself at the supercharger station where the car is going to park a certain way to try to make a line. But there's a lot of limitation with that, especially if the line gets a little bit too long, because you're in a parking lot. There's limitations. Sometimes double line is going to create. Sometimes it's going to be a line from one side and a line on the other side, and then you need to know which one came first. It's a nightmare. So it created, and a lot of people have been asking, like, it would be quite simple for Tesla to just create a system. Like, Tesla knows when the supercharger is full, so it knows when a car come in at the supercharger. If you use a navigation system, or you can, if for non-Tesla vehicles, now you can probably use the Tesla app too. And as you arrive, you just put yourself on the queue, click, and then the supercharger won't work for anybody else than you. It's pretty simple. But Tesla has not done that. But this week they did, after this video here. I'm gonna play, but cut the sound.
It's just charging. Just calm down. There's. Okay, guys, I have an evidence. Okay.
Do you hear that?
If something.
Yep.
Okay. Guys, it's just charging.
Dude, I wasn't lying.
It's not a big deal. Just calm down.
I mean, it went. I'm gonna stop it there, or I'll cut the sound maybe and keep playing for people to watch. But the guys, they pushed each other. It got physical, and they started yelling at each other. It was like a full-on fight. I think no punches were thrown, at least, but over that exact situation that they just described, because the queue was messed up, and someone thought that they would be first, and someone else got in, and so forth. So it took that for Tesla to finally do that, because the Tesla charging team responded to that video saying, virtual queuing pilot starting in Q2 at select sites. I don't even know where, okay, sorry. And then he said, goal is net consumer experience improvement for roughly 1% cases of wait time. So to actually get some data here, 1% of the time that people go charging, it's full. I think that's quite significant. Like, it's pretty. 1% of the time, like, if Tesla has millions and millions of charging sessions a year, like, it's significant. Wider rollout this year if feedback is positive. I mean, I'm sure the feedback is going to be positive. Anything is better than just free for all when the site is full. So I don't know why they are questioning that, but we also continue to expand the network 20% year over year, closely tracking site level demand. Closely tracking, I think that's probably an overstatement. Like, we reported that since Elon fired the entire Tesla charging team, the charging rate went down. The charging deployment rate went down. It got a little bit back up in Q4, but before that it was down. And it was before that tracking already below Tesla's deliveries ramp up. But that has changed since Tesla's delivery went down also. But now you have to take into account the fact that Tesla is also onboarding non-Tesla vehicles to the network. That obviously is going to increase the demand for Tesla Supercharger. And again, I hope that Tesla solution is going to include them too. I'm sure it's doable through the app. Okay, one more Tesla news. We have the first look at the first public Tesla mega charger station for Tesla semi trucks. So public is the important point here, because there's one at the Tesla Gigafactory Nevada, or next to the Gigafactory. And there's been a bunch of mobile one too that Tesla has deployed. There's also some at the Tesla's customers too. So there's that. But the first public one is coming to South Los Angeles, and it's going to look like that. This is the site plan. So it's 12 mega charger stalls that are long stalls, so you can pull in with a tractor and trailer. And they're also going to include a 1,600 square feet anonymity building with a lounge, vending machine, restroom, and parking for staff. So it's going to be staff there. So it's going to be like a proper little truck stop, I guess. And it's going to be, between Gardena and Carson, right where the 405 and the 110 meet in South Los Angeles. So those are both, big corridor for traffic, including truck traffic, and also not too far from Long Beach, where there is the port. So there's a lot of things that arrive at Long Beach and they go to the 110 or the 405 to go to where they need to go. So it makes sense to have a charging location there. The mega charger, as the name implies, is able of charging at 1 megawatts or over a megawatt. And Tesla says that it can charge a Tesla Semi to 70% in 30 minutes. So that's pretty good. No exact timing on when that's going to happen. So Tesla is applying right now for the construction permit, and it's also at the site that there's already a building on that is set to be destroyed later this year. So it might take a while before this thing actually works. Also, I'm sure that's going to be quite a fun mess for the permit building and all that for something that powerful of 12 megawatt stalls.
Yeah, so a couple things on that. How close to the design center is that? It looks a little bit close to the airport there in Torrance.
Yeah, you're right. Hawthorne is right there. So it's I think the design center. So is that, I think that's the airport in Hawthorne.
Yeah,
So
it's
design center is probably right here.
Interesting place to put a truck mega charger, because why, inside of LA doesn't seem like a big route for trucks. Maybe put it between LA and San Diego or at Las Vegas or San Francisco, but inside of LA, that's interesting choice. I wonder if it's for short travel or something, or as a experiment.
Yeah, it's the first one that maybe makes sense to keep it closer to home. But yeah, you're right that generally speaking, I think the most useful one are going to be the ones between big centers where you're going to be moving stuff between. So yeah, maybe like you said, between San Francisco and LA would make sense. I'm sure there's going to be one too.
Also, it's near the port of Los Angeles, Long Beach Harbor, so maybe that's just for trucks coming in and out of the port.
Yeah, and Watt EVs, which operates a fleet of trucks at I think that's in Long Beach. They just announced that they ordered a bunch of Tesla Semi, so maybe that was part of the deal, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. All right, moving on from Tesla news, we got some Rivian news and then the Genesis GV90 and a bunch of other news. But before that, I want to remind you that we are live and we take questions live. So if you have questions for us about any of the topics that we discussed today or any other topics in the EV world, you can put them in the comment section right now. I'm going to get to them in about 15, 20 minutes or so. Also, if you do enjoy the podcast right now, just hit that like button, that follow button, whatever it is on the app you're listening right now. It helps the show a ton. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, if you can give us a 5-star rating, only if you enjoy the show, of course, we would appreciate it a ton, because we get hit these days a lot with these Tesla, these Elon, not even Tesla, but Elon fans specifically, who just hates on us for for not just kissing his ass all the time. So
yeah,
if you can, yeah,
and also we're going to start addressing some of the comments. If you guys have some good comments for us in the Apple podcast, I don't think Spotify has comments, but put some comments in there, and we'll address those.
Yeah, we still appreciate if you do give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, but you're right, there's no comments on there. But if you want to ask a question through Apple's reviews, we're gonna start doing that. So if you put the comments there, because that's the way to ask a question or to suggest a topic for us without being listening to the show live, which I know a lot of people cannot do. Most people that are listening to the show are not listening live. All right, Rivian had its earnings for Q4 yesterday, and it beats expectations. And but most importantly, the main expectation was not just the earnings, which was lost of 70 cents per share, well 68, 46 per share. The expectation was 68, and the revenue was a big beat at 1.73 billion versus 1.4 expected. But really, the big thing was, are they going to be gross margin positive on the trucks? And they were $170 million positive, which is a big change. It's basically a 10% gross margin over Q4. Well, they were losing like 36% just a few quarters ago. So it's a massive change. There's some caveats there, obviously. They wouldn't have been able to achieve that without credits, but that was also the case for Tesla for years and years and years. So we're not too surprised here. The most important thing here is that they reduce. Oh, we lost Seth for a second. They reduce their costs per vehicle by $31,000 year over year. That's very impressive for like a company that sells vehicles at like $80,000-$90,000 a vehicle. Reducing the cost by 31,000 is big. Now, obviously, if it wasn't for the credit, they would still be negative. But still, if they can do that again over the next year, which I don't think they will, but if they can do half of that, they would be in the positive, which would be like massive. They still have also enough money to run for like 3 years or something, so that would put them deep into the ramp up of the R2 vehicles. So that's also very good. What else? Oh yeah, the stock is down today though, and that's not too surprising because the thing that's do we have the guidance here? Yeah, here. So the guidance is what kind of tanked the stock a little bit, which is not too surprising because obviously Rivian is its main market and it's almost only market. I mean, it's two only market in Canada and the US, and those are expected to go down quite a bit for electric vehicles in 2025. So it's expecting between 46 and 51,000 deliveries in 2025, which is a little less than what they delivered last year. So that's not great, obviously, but we kind of expected that. It's not that big of a surprise. The volume growth is going to come next year with the launch of the R2 and then the R3 after that. So this should be a ramp up in 2026. I don't know how big that's going to be because 2020, I think first half of 2026 is the R2 production launch. So volume production probably not until 2027 or like high volume production, but still very encouraging stuff. It looks like the company. I'm now very confident that the company like will survive. Like we discussed that a lot over the last few years. Like the level of confidence in that, and they showed enough progress for me that now I can see them like getting into volume production of the R2 really.
And theoretically, they'll get to the point where they're making R3s and other vehicles at some point.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, they need to make those two profitable also, and they're going to be cheaper vehicles. It's going to be more difficult to do, but it's going to be higher volume. And Tesla until the Model 3 also was not making money that much. They were gross margin positive, and I think they will. Actually, they did guide for gross margin positivity throughout the entirety of 2025, a slight gross margin, though they said. So that's going to happen. So Rivian is basically where Tesla was during the ramp up of Model X, and they are now transitioning to Model 3, and they are learning a lot from Tesla's mistake, obviously, and that
ironically, I think a lot of Tesla owners that aren't fans of Elon Musk's latest activities are moving to Rivian, and that might be even helping their sales a little bit. So shout out to Elon for the help, I guess.
I mean, Scooter just took delivery of its R1S yesterday or today, And he said that at the delivery center, they said that the guy that was delivering the car said he delivered like 7 Rivian last week, and 6 of those 7 had a Tesla trade-in at the same time. So that's a pretty high number. I hope that Rivian is moving those around quickly, because the resale value on the used Teslas are going down quite drastically, because a lot of people are doing that. There's inventory of used Teslas is going up pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
All right, so right before the earnings, actually, Rivian also launched the California Dune Edition R1. So both for the R1 S and T, these are a new off-road version of the vehicle. So I kind of looked through that launch rather quickly, but my understanding is that these are kind of base tri-motor R1s, but instead of having like the Ascend interior that comes with the tri-motor normally, which is the nicer interior, it's a new interior that's a little bit dumbed down, for ruggedness, if you will. And then on top of that, the adventure interior, they call it. And then to compensate for that, because it's the same price as the regular tri-motor, they offer a bunch of off-roading packages to replace that. So that includes California badging, direct cloud packages, all-terrain package, sound plus vision package, powered tonneau cover, 1 pair of dark cargo crossbars, Max Trax recovery boards, and Max Track recovery board mount. It looks pretty sleek too. So basically, I think the all-terrain package is probably the biggest thing in that. So it offers you the opportunity, if you are like more of an off-roader, you can switch the Ascend interior on the tri-motor for the all-terrain package. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this.
Those wheels are kind of reminiscent of the Mach-E Rally. They put off-road wheels. It's a good look.
Yeah, you go ahead, sir.
Oh, I just think it's a good look.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful. And the wheels is the main thing, I think, the all package. But you also have a spare tire that comes with the package, a reinforced underbody shield, and the Max Trax system, which helps you recover the truck when it's in deep sand. And it's the same price as the regular tri-motor, so $100,000 for the T and $106,000 for the S. Yeah, it looks good looking. Let's look at the pictures a little bit bigger here. Okay, you can get the dark wheels and you can get the light wheel. It looks really good with the light wheels.
I agree.
Yeah, with the
I
sun.
wonder how they affect the range. Probably not too much.
No, I don't think it's too bad because they're covered at least.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we get a first look. I don't know if I would call it a first look, but the Genesis GV90, the confirm that the production version is going to come with these coach doors here. So that was the Neolon concept on the 90 was based on that concept. But a lot of the times you see a concept like that, and especially you have coach door without a B pillar, and you're like, okay, like it's a concept. Maybe it's not going to make it to production. But Genesis has been talking about, like, now we think that we have the technology to make the chassis rigid enough that you really don't need a B pillar. And the 90 was spotted on a truck with camouflage, but you can see that he has coach doors and it doesn't seem to have a B pillar. I mean, we cannot confirm it 100% on this, but it does look like it's not. And if you also combine that with the comments of Hyundai Genesis, it makes sense. So it looks like the 90 is going to be launched with the coach doors without a B pillar, which is interesting. The vehicle is slated for production in early 2026, so we're just a year away, and expected to be about $80,000. So it's going to be the it's not, and this is not like going to be like an EV9 version of a Genesis version of the EV9 or something like that. This is going to be the next generation platform. It's going to be the first Hyundai Genesis vehicle on the new EM platform instead of the EGMP.
So what is the difference between what is it called, coach doors and like suicide doors? Is it the same idea?
I think the same idea might be just the size. Look at this thing. Look at how big it is.
Right.
It's, the suicide door, I think, might be like there's just a smaller one, and like it's just like a half door. I'm not sure, but I think the takeaway here is more the fact that there's no B pillar than those are
Right.
coach or suicide door.
Well, I think, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, suicide isn't a great marketing term, right? Probably.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I never got that too. I don't even know what's the point of it. Like, why is it suicide? Like, the lack of B pillar might be more suicide
Right.
than the fact that the door opens up the wrong way. But I mean, I'm sure if Genesis is bringing that to market, they've done their research and it's gonna perform well in a side collision crash, but and a rollover crash too. It's important, but we'll see about that. All right, we got the next victim or likely victim of the Trump tariffs and changes. The Jeep Compass is now, up in the air, kind of unsure if it's going to make it to North America because it was supposed to be built at the Brampton plant in Ontario, but which has been kind of in production shutdown since last year or even before that. Yeah, 2023, it's been production shutdown, and they've been working on retooling it for the production of the Compass and other vehicles. And they announced this week that that they are shutting down the progress on this. So Mr. Lou Anne Gosselin, the head of communication for Stellantis in Canada, said, "As we navigate today's dynamic environment, very dynamic, Stellantis continue to reassess its product strategy in North America." Gosselin added that the decision is to ensure that it is offering customers a range of vehicle with flexible powertrain option that best meets their needs.
You can tell this is written by a PR department.
Yeah, also it doesn't make sense because I thought the Compass was also anyway, it was supposed to come in electric, hybrid, and gas powertrain. It was supposed to be like a tri powertrain, like Ionic, original Ionic type of deal. So yeah, if it's not gonna be built there, and I think obviously that's more to do with the fact that with the tariffs coming, like like even here, I've been talking like with Polestar, and I've been talking with all the other journalists here that especially like the journalists here that goes on all these press trips and they talk to all other manufacturer all the time, and there's a clear sentiment right now in the auto industry for any manufacturer that produce vehicles in either Mexico, US, or Canada, and it's fear and confusion all over the place. No one knows for sure what's going to happen. I think Trump again today said 25% tariffs are coming April 2nd, I think he said, on cars. So on cars, that would be one thing. If it's just on cars, at least, I mean, it's not good. Obviously, it's bad, especially with free trades, with the markets that have free trades agreement with them. But if it's on parts and everything, it's not just other countries that are in trouble. It's U.S. manufacturers. You can get an example of like the Ford F-150, for example. Like they have like something like 20% of the parts coming from Canada, 20% from Mexico, and some assembly in Mexico, some assembly in Canada, then some assembly in the US. It's like it would increase the price of basically everything that it's in those markets by a lot and complicate things like never before. It would be very interesting. And obviously, it's already happening because of the tariffs also on Canadian aluminum and steel. So that's already into effect, and it's already throwing a wrench in a lot of people's plans. All right, Kia on Monday gonna have its EV day, gonna unveil a bunch of new things, but they gave us some previews. First one is the PV5. It's an interesting looking kind of ID Buzz reminiscent van here. It's gonna come in two sizes and a passenger configuration and a cargo configuration. But I think both of them also come in 2 sizes. I'm not clear about that. We have these images and we have a little bit of information, but all the specs and all that are going to come on Monday with the EV Day. They talk about confidently linking the high-tech upper cabin with a more rugged and purposeful lower body. So this is the passenger version with windows all around, and this is the cargo version without windows. Not a ton of details other than that. I think we have some sizes: 177-inch long, 74.8-inch wide, 74.8-inch tall. So it's, from the back, it would look square. And if you so that that's the compact model, and then they're going to be a bigger one. We don't have the size on the bigger one, but probably something bigger to the ID, more comparable to the ID Buzz, which is 195-inch long, 78-inch wide. So it's like 4 inches wider and almost 20 inches longer. So probably something similar in size here. And then the other vehicle that's going to be unveiled on Monday is the EV4. That's going to be the low cost, well, other than the EV3, but we're not getting the EV3 in North America. So it's going to be the lowest cost Kia available in North America. And also short on specs. And we already had, a lot of leaks and all that, but this is the first official images of it. It looks kind of a baby EV6, really, but a little bit flatter, a little bit longer. Well, looks longer because it's flatter. I'm sure it's not longer. There's a little bit of a spoiler here. The glass kind of extend into a half panoramic roof. Oh, not on all. Here it's black. Okay. Okay, no, that's the hatchback version. Okay, so you have the sedan version and the hatchback version. Oh, okay. Oh, the hatchback version could be interesting.
Yeah, interesting size. I don't know.
So some details is a new CCNC infotainment system with dual 12.3 driver and navigation screen. So it's going to be, because we don't have interior pictures right now, so it's going to be like a large infotainment driver display and then an infotainment display. Okay, no, it's going to be the same as the other models. Okay, so that. It's based on the EGMP that we talked about earlier. Also expected to feature at least 300 miles of range. That's great. There's going to be a GT version too. So that's the GT line here. Sporty rim bumper and triangular motif on the wheels. Okay. It's expected to be about between $30,000 and $40,000. It has been kind of touted as the Model 3 competitor for Kia. And we're going to have all the details on Monday.
I guess Model Y too, with the SUV version or the hatchback version, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's a hatchback version. I think it's going to be smaller, to be honest.
Yeah,
and probably cheaper too. Probably cheaper than a Model Y. All right, let's get into the comment section. It's,
all right, Carl
Diego,
Diego.
11 p.m.
Oh wow, Elon wins as bad boss every time. How in the world could anyone think that merging your company with Tesla right now would be a good idea? Are you serious?
Well,
yes.
In Japan, it's a bit different. They don't listen that much to what's happening in the U.S. It's
yeah,
kind
of if you look at the stock price alone, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like they look at who could buy us, and they prefer Tesla to China because the other one in line is Foxconn apparently.
Oh, interesting. We talk about pedestrian versus passenger safety, and see, on a bicycle, I recently approached a Cybertruck from behind and quickly realized that if I were to rear end one as a cyclist, the top rear top corners would cause horrendous injury. Yes, it's a sharp vehicle, and I don't mean that in a appearance All right. The Cybertruck 5-star rating is NHTSA now a subdivision of Doge. That's amusing. Probably not. Instead of insisting that we
I'm sure that the crash ratings happened before the takeover, but still, yeah. I mean, there's real concern about
all that stuff.
oversight. NHTSA's oversight of Tesla right now that Elon is the co-president.
Right. Carl says, instead of insisting that we all migrate to NACS, the EV industry should have focused on the very, very simple step of painting a lane to public charging so everyone knows who's next. Yeah, well, I don't know.
Painting lanes, you have to repaint them all the time on that.
Also, NACS, I don't think is a bad thing. Also, all public chargers all need easy-to-see lights to indicate which one is available, and no light meaning broken, unavailable. That would be one way, I guess, of seeing that. I think it's more important online
someone is parked there. You're not supposed to be parked if you're not charging it anyway. So if someone is not parked there, then it's available.
All right. Welcome to the United States. You're in Europe, right?
I'm in Sweden right now in the Arctic Circle. I think he thought I was in Canada. That's why he's saying that. I think.
So David Canada says, I think Elon doubled his monthly Tesla tweets the other day by mentioning the Cybertruck crash test rating in a tweet. Yes, he hasn't been tweeting much about Tesla these days. Richard Cool says Tesla is supposed to be testing dye pack on supercharger cable that sprays out dye if cutting of the cable occurs.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
The federal loan for Rivian might still get yanked, possibly even by Elon. He's arbitrarily breaking government contracts under the name of Doge. That would be hugely...
Yeah, that's a weird one. And they talked about that this week, that they might take away the loan, even though it was passed like last minute by the Biden administration before Trump took office. And it would be certainly weird if that happens, especially since Tesla also got a very similar loan around a decade and a half ago. Not as big, but with inflation, probably as big.
Yeah. All right. Martin Hughes says no point in the Tesla tie-up with Nissan from Tesla's perspective. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it either. Yeah.
I believe the Cybertruck with the unreleased range extender gives it similar range to the R1T with Max Pack, and makes the bed of the truck about the same length as the R1T. Is that right? I think the R1T has will be bigger after that.
Would be bigger still. Would be bigger. Cybertruck has a bigger bed now, and I think it would be a little bit smaller than the R1T if you have the range extended pack. It's also $6,000 more expensive, and it doesn't exist yet.
Right. Any thoughts on different batteries or configuration being used in the extra space in the Cybertruck battery compartment? I don't know what it means.
Don't know that there is extra space in the battery compartment. If they wouldn't offer a range extender in the bed. They would just add the capacity in the battery compartment. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to specify that.
All right. From X, My says, I just ordered an RCV. That's Rivian 500. What are your thoughts? Congratulations. I don't know what
you can do that. You can do that without just a fleet, just a single one. If you do, send us the details. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been you can have a fleet of one. You can have your own business. Like you could have a sole proprietor. I could order an Electrek RCV 500. Maybe I should do that actually. Anyway, that might be fun. Van life it. All right, Sylvian, there's no extra space. It's safety spacing in case of fire, and actually the space is on the underside of the truck, so it's in case something goes through the casing from the underside.
Oh, okay. You mean the underbody of the vehicle? Okay, that's right. Okay.
All right, some clarification. It was called the suicide door because if traffic hit it while you were getting out, it would slam close on you. Okay, that would still happen in this case.
That's worse. That's worse than hitting you and then you hitting the door. I'll get it.
Thanks, Icarius. I read that too, but I wasn't sure if it was confirmed. I hadn't been able to confirm that extra space was used in other EV trucks or the Tesla models, but makes sense. All right, we got 2 more. Nissan Tesla is pump and dump Tesla style. Maybe that's true.
I mean, it was announced today, and Tesla is down like 5% today. So
No, I think he means for Nissan.
Oh, for Nissan. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure. It was kind of a long shot.
Yeah. All right, last question at the moment. Ian Smith, if a guy doesn't smoke pot and talks about 420 all the time, it probably has another meaning, perhaps a certain historical Austrian's birthday. So we're talking about Hitler there.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming at all.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. That's right. He's big on 420, and he's not a pot smoker. Interesting point, Ian. All right. Well, that's it for us this week. I'm going to go to bed because it's 11 p.m. here, and I fly back tomorrow morning to Canada, the 51st state of the U.S., soon enough. But thanks a lot, everyone, for listening to the show this week. We appreciate you. If you do enjoy the show, please give us a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe. All these things help the show a ton. Also, like Seth said earlier, we are if you give us a 5-star rating on the audio app, and you can ask us a question for next week's show through that with the reviews on Apple Podcasts. So we appreciate when you do that too. And we see you same time, same